Hey, we're back. Bruce and Rick here with you. Subbing in for Brian, who had a little community project he had to take care of this morning. We're delighted to be here. We'll be with you again on Friday when we visit Circuit World with a Ask the Doc segment, all-star panel.
North Georgia.
Jesse will be with us from, what's the name of her center, Josh? Cameron Hall. Thank you very much. Josh is there to...
And
the Star of the Week, Pet of the Week. I don't know if anybody saw it last week. We hope you did. We had
Puppy World.
We had Puppy World on. Yeah, exactly. Boy, I got home and it was Puppy World in my house too, because my two dogs, all they did was chase me around all day and smell getting all those puppy smells. Last we spoke. We were going to cover John Dowd a little bit. John Dowd. Yeah, John, the president's attorney, who came out and absolutely just blasted the Mueller hoax. You want to?
Well, he's his ex-attorney. He's not representing him anymore.
Yeah.
And essentially, he said, I know exactly what he has. I know exactly what the witnesses have all said. And this amounts to a huge nothing burger.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there. So
he said that basically the Mueller investigation has perpetrated the biggest fraud in U.S. history. Those are pretty strong words.
But of course, the Democrats and the mainstream media compare this to Ken Starr. They're going to, no matter what is said, from the right or from the Republicans on this, they are going to take it back and say, same thing Ken Starr did, with poor Bill Clinton. But anyway, that's another story.
Didn't his statements came out, I think it started with ABC and then it blew up. But wasn't it also as a result of what the Senate Intelligence?
Yeah, I think that was the
genesis of the whole thing.
Yeah, that catalyzed the comment.
Yeah, I mean, they came out and basically said, there ain't nothing here, folks.
Yeah.
We can't find anything nonpartisan, but of course the partisan side,
nonpartisan,
i.e. John Warner. John, you need to stay in your own state. You got a lot of issues there, dude. Why don't you do a little counseling back there with this? Anyway, I won't go there.
The Three Stooges.
The Three Stooges, yeah, Mo, Larry, and Curly. Hey, Mo! Anyway, where was I? The Democrat side, they're stepping back and saying, well, we just really need to wait. Yeah, we don't see anything now, but we really need to wait just to see maybe what Mueller has there.
There could be a crime in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's what John Dowd said. That's why he came out and blasted him, saying, I've seen everything. I know who the witnesses are. I've seen the testimony. The only reason I stepped down is because Trump was talking about possibly doing a sit-down with Mueller, and they had a disagreement over how that should be handled. So, I mean, he just felt, my work is done here. They got nothing. Let me go do something else for a while.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, he's saying the big question now is if it's going to be released to the public. Oh boy, strap in for that one.
Yeah.
I mean, if this isn't released to the public, I mean, that's going to cover up, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and when this came out, have you noticed that there's been a lot more emphasis on the FBI and how they handled the Hillary thing? In terms of the Anthony Weiner laptop, the fast tracking through the laptop, and how over the years they just absolutely made a concerted effort to cover for her.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some allegations made that there certainly was some things going on between the Hillary camp and the FBI, which should not ever happen in our country, but seem to have occurred, and that raises serious questions. And of course, this will immediately bring up the whole, they're out to get Hillary, at all costs, and it'll be used as a counterweight to this. But it should be really interesting to see if it's released or it's redacted, or how that plays out, because it has to go, I think, to the president. The DOJ gets it, and then I think the president gets it.
Well, it'll be interesting when Barr finally gets confirmed, what attitude he takes, because I know Devin Nunes has been all over the airwaves lately about, regardless of whether they're in the minority now on the representative side, they're still going to try to put forth, and whether it works or not, or whether it's just optics, they're still going to try to put forth subpoenas to get to more testimony. And what he's pushing for, and I think what the Senate will be pushing for, with the help of Lindsey Graham, is to try to bring more. We were talking about it earlier, to the DOJ, to bring criminal referrals.
Criminal referrals, yes. Criminal
referrals over to the DOJ for them to follow up on. And I really believe that Barr, based on his background, and I think this is why why he was such a lightning rod when he went through, totally uncontested last time when HW hired him. And now all of a sudden it's going to be partisan lines.
The issues.
Yeah, issues.
But it's interesting, as you said, with this starting to come out, and dribble out and all that sort of stuff. I mean, you see the other things, the rotation out of Russia into impeachment.
Yeah.
Adam Schiff.
Yeah, they totally gloss over.
Well, no, it's a planned rotation. I mean, they're going to rotate away from Russia because, there's nothing to talk about there. And they're going to go on all this other stuff. Trump's son, the inaugural committee, they're going to start bringing up all these other obscure issues, and they're going to make them the talk of the day.
Yeah. If those of you who are followers of this show probably recognize the name George McClelland. George is a contributor to FYN and to Fetcher News, in as much as he writes op-eds. He's got an op-ed on the website that I sent to a few friends of mine who have positively responded to it. I think it's a brilliantly written piece, and I sent a little shout out to George the other day, telling him how well it was done. Go on the website. It's called The Extent of the Deep State, and it goes all the way back to the Obamas and the Arkansas Whitewater deal.
Oh, geez.
And how James Comey became a loyalist then. He was one of the young DOJ attorneys in that inquiry, and has been protecting the Clinton crime racket ever since. He rose through the ranks as a trusted guy. So it's interesting how this whole story, this op-ed piece, and this conjecture, which I think is closer to fact than anything else, was developed by George. So if you really would like to, it's a quick read. Take a look at it, because I think it's brilliantly done, and it really kind of ties up where the fake news, the Lois Lerner and the IRS involvement, and how the deep state continues with its backing of Obama becoming president, and Clapper and Brennan, all the loyalists, Holder, Lynch. It ties up in a really nice little bow how all of this fits together, and their intent on trying to bring down our President of the United States. So, George, well done. Take a look at it out there. And
how can they get to it?
By going to the Fetcher News site and look for the op-ed section, and it's called Extent of the Deep State. Again, it's a one-pager. It's a quick read, and I think George did a magnificent job on it. So, anyway, that'll kind of... in my mind, it kind of tied up for me how this whole thing continues to evolve.
Is there hope for the shallow state? That's what I want to know.
Is that you and I? This is the shallow duo up here. Let's see. We were going to talk on George Soros a little bit.
Oh, George
Soros.
The Hungarian flesh.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know they put a resolution in there that he couldn't raise any money to in Hungary. I can't remember what it was. I read something on it now, but they have passed some kind of a resolution where George Soros could not put money into any effort that would try to undermine exactly what they're doing.
Well, when you know someone's a mud bug, you call them a mud bug.
George Soros is up in arms lately. I don't know if you've seen anything. He's kind of been under the radar, even though he continues to, just kind of to fund all of these initiatives. And George is a guy that wants to make sure that the EU remains intact and we continue on pace to have a one government new world order. And in his mind, and in my mind, frankly, when you do a little bit of the research, things in Europe right now are not going well for the new world order and the EU.
Yeah.
We've got
There's turmoil in Baguette land.
We've got so many populist candidates being being recognized, running for office and winning. We've got Hungary. Viktor Orban ran on an anti-mass migration campaign, where have you heard that before, as a populist, and his five-star movement won. Austria's got a new leader as a populist. Czech Republic, populist won. Merkel stepping down from the right-wing pressure that's being put on by the AfD, the Alternative for Germany, Deutschland. Macron.
Emmanuel Macron. Yes.
That guy's taking a hit. I'd love to see what his favorable rating is, wouldn't you? Do you think it's in the teens?
Way down there. I mean, I don't know if the French do polls the same way as here, but yeah.
The Yellow Vests, they come out every weekend, and let me tell you, the mainstream media is not covering it, folks. But if you dig down in the weeds and see what's going on in France, I wouldn't want to be strutting around on the streets in Paris on the weekends, because you'll be right in the middle of it.
Yeah. I mean, and he's rolled out an opposing group, the Red Vests. So, the Reds and the Yellows clash. I mean, there's smoke, tear gas, it's not good for tourism, but hey.
And then Italy.
Yeah. The current prime minister is Giuseppe Conte with an E.
Not to be confused with Conte with an I.
Yeah, right. And then their deputy prime minister, Matteo Salvini, has been very, very outspoken recently on financial issues in Europe particularly. And they're definitely a much more populist government than Italy's seen in a long time.
George Soros put $560,000. Now, that's probably not a lot of money to him.
No.
But he put a lot of money behind this anti-Brexit campaign, where they're trying to do a redo.
Yeah, and George Soros, you have to remember, is running what is the Open Society Foundations. This is a multi-billion-dollar grant-making company or foundation, I should say, that dispenses money around the world for issues that interest him and the foundation board, as it were. So they get into everything like the Organization for Black Struggle, Missourians Organizing for Reform, Center for Responsive Politics. It's just amazing. They have their fingers in a lot of things. 37 offices around the world.
And he funds that whole thing.
Yeah. And he funded it originally. I mean, and it has grown on its own. I mean, they get contributions from the entertainment industry and governments, and I mean, they're multi-billion dollars to play with. Notwithstanding
his continued effort to try to undermine Trump.
Yeah, he does not like Donald John Trump.
What do you think Europe's got? Let's go back to the Brexit thing for a minute. That's going to happen, right?
That's going to be an inflection point. Yeah, how it happens. I mean, it's the end of March. I think it's the 29th. And of course,
they have to come to some kind of an agreement with the headquarters in Belgium. Is that?
Yeah, to step away from the EU, but I mean, still have trading relations and making sure the standards for everything are similar. So it's been a daunting task to make this happen, and it's been very contentious.
I never can remember the exact dates. I know you spent a lot of time living in Europe in the Far East, right?
Mm-hmm,
You call that the Far East. Were you under EU rule when you were there? When you lived in Belgium?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And did you any takeaways?
Well, I mean, this was back in the 80s. I mean, you could see then that, like, Brussels, the headquarters of the European Union, basically wanted to do like the U.S. has done on the federal level to a degree, have certain guidelines and regulations that all the European Union, which was originally 6, then grew to be 10, and now is, I don't know what the number is, 17 or something. They wanted to have everybody, follow the same rules on food purity, packaging, cars, standards, all this sort of thing. And it wasn't so bad then, but I mean, it's gotten more and more where the government has involved themselves in people's lives. And there's been some good things, but it's been outweighed by, I think, a lot of the restrictive regulations that governments tend to do to justify their existence. It's a lot like our country.
Regulation nation, folks.
Yeah.
I was shocked at the amount of money that the EU takes in from these, that they just literally suck the lifeblood out of some of these countries.
Oh yeah, I mean they have high tax rates on income, and of course when we lived in Belgium in the early '80s, they said the national game there was tax evasion, and they used to have people driving down to Luxembourg, across the border from Belgium, and Luxembourg was sort of a more free state, if you will. I mean, you could put money in bank accounts there, and they wouldn't report it. And people would be bringing carloads of money over. And the EU, as they grew, they started putting people at the border between Belgium and Luxembourg. And they would start taking pictures of license plates and, all the things the government does to get their fair share.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, now most of the countries there have a value-added tax that's anywhere from 15% to over 20%. So
right.
on
top of everything else.
Yeah. I mean, some food things are exempted and things like that, but on just about everything else, you pay a huge value-added tax.
That's why we don't want to go there, folks. Anyway,
absolutely not.
We blew through that segment pretty well. We've got a couple of things in the next segment. We're just going to jump around the board and talk a little state politics. We'll come up with a little magic of TV, and we'll see where that takes us. Anyway, we'll
take us to the end.
Yeah, we'll take us to the end. 10 o'clock, we're gone. But as of right now, we're going to take a short break. Give some credence to our valued contributors out there as sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to get a little bit on the lighter side a little bit and have some fun, talk about a few things, and then blast out of here. So, Josh, take us a break, please.